Hey guys, today I'm here with Benedict Beaumont, breathwork facilitator and founder of Breathing Space. I'm super glad to have you here today. I teach yoga and meditation, and we focus a lot on breathwork, but I'm not good at. I used to make a couple of meditations here and there, but it's just not where my heart's at. I'd rather do it in person during class at yoga, and I have a hard time transferring that side of me into the podcast and online content stuff. So I'm super glad to have you here today to help us do that and learn some stuff because focusing on the breath is one of the most fundamental, bare basic things that we can do to help ourselves fix our emotional state in the moment and just creating space around whatever's going on at the time so that we can make those intentional, purposeful choices moving forward rather than just landing on autopilot.
Savannah, thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I'm thrilled to be here. Perhaps we could start with a little breath work. This is a practice that I do before almost every interaction, whether it's an interview like this, whether it's a seminar, whether it's a class, whether it's a chat with my accountant. I always say, is it okay if we just stop, pause, and take a few breaths together? Would that be okay if we did that?
Absolutely. Let's go.
And if you're listening at home, and if you're possible, I mean, don't do this if you're driving, but stop, pause, and take a few breaths with me into that and out. Thank you. And can you feel how that's changed things? How the energy here is different now?
Yeah, I've struggled really heavily with anxiety my entire life, and I that's was one of the things that got me into yoga is that they talked about this breathwork thing, and I was like, okay, so tell me more about this breathwork thing. And I literally before I started doing podcasts, well, I mean, like before I got on the recording to do a podcast, I would always have to just sit for a second and take a few breaths, relax your shoulders, go through all of the little mechanisms that we do in our head to ground ourselves and be able to do these things at all, or else I'd be stuttering and shaking and sweating. And it helps a lot. It does.
It really does. Breathwork is one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation. And it's got so many advantages. And my favorite one is it's free. Anyone can do this at any point in time, providing you are actually living and breathing. But most of the techniques that you can do, no one knows about. They're secret. You can do them whilst you're walking down the street or whilst you're at work or whilst you're driving a car, for instance. It's accessible for every single person. And I love that. It's like we have this superpower inside of us that almost no one knows that we have. And yet it is the key to a door that can unlock so much inside of us. And I'm super excited to share a little bit more about breathwork. And I love what you're doing. I love everything that you've told me in our kind of pre-show talk about what you're trying to do with this podcast. So yeah, I'm super excited to share more breathwork techniques with you and your listeners today.
Yeah, we take breathing for granted most of the time. And I talk a lot in my classes because I'm leading them more on the focused breathing and stuff uh, about how we all notice our breathing when our noses are stuffy or our allergies are acting up or we have a cold and we're just like, man, nothing would be better than to be able to breathe right now. But when our air passages are clear, we don't think about it. And we need to really be paying attention to our body and the mechanisms that it has that brings us a sense of peace when it's in that peaceful state and not just giving it attention and focus and energy, mostly negative energy at that, when it's giving us problems.
Yeah, I know we always tend to concentrate when something isn't working, not when it is working. But when we bring some intentionality or some awareness to how we're breathing, well, it will improve the level of our being on the level of on almost every level. It will improve us from the physical, for the fitness, from the emotional well-being to the mental clarity and focus to even deeper, more subtle aspects of ourselves. Spiritual connection, for instance, all of that is accessible through the breath in a way that is so simple, in a way that you don't have to spend years sitting in a cave on a mountaintop or following a funny diet or learning ancient languages and chanting for hours. It can be as simple and as easy as taking a breath.
Yeah, the mundane is really where the magic is. And nobody wants to focus on that because we don't think that it should be that easy. We think that there's some grand secrets that are hiding up there in the mountains with the monks and that we need to go sit in silence with them for 30 days to figure it out. And after those 30 days are up, you'll realize that it is the mundane that makes the magical.
I love that. And that's really what I try and do in my work is to take something extraordinary, something magical, but make it every day, make it normal, make it accessible to people, who look like me. I'm a middle-aged guy, balding. I've got a family. I love my sports. For so many people, the esoteric nature of the alternative work puts them off. I think I don't want to go around with all the hippies chanting and shaking and wearing strange clothes. Actually, it doesn't have to be like that. The magic of this medicine, whether it's breath or yoga or therapy or so many other things, it's so much more powerful if we can make it approachable, make it accessible to people in a normal, everyday manner. Just make it every day, make it mundane, even if it is extraordinary.
Yeah, you can work it into the simplest of tasks because I have a lot of people, they're always like, they don't have time. They don't have time. And like, I understand that we lead very busy and full lives. And, our culture just increases that. And we could go on that tangent forever because, you know, keeping the yang going and going and going keeps us busy and it keeps us distracted. And that really benefits people that control things. And it just perpetuates the trauma and the energy that we don't want, those anxious feelings and the stress and the anger and the everything. But it is as simple as taking 30 seconds to just focus on your breathing. And you'll notice that if you just tune in with your body, a lot of times we're breathing in our chest, up in our shoulders, and that's shallow and a stress response that activates our nervous system even more. And if you just bring your attention to it, you're like, oh, so we're supposed to be breathing down in our bellies with our diaphragm. And like even me, when we took that second in the beginning of the episode, I checked in with my breathing and I was like, oh, I'm way up here in my shoulders again. I can feel it in my neck. That's not where I need to be breathing at. I need to relax everything down into my belly. And that adjustment for people, because it took me a really long time. I always noticed when you watch a baby breathing. Do you have children?
I've got very young children, actually, 18 months old and 3 years old.
Oh wow. That is it's a hard age. Um, I always said that I would take all of the children if I could pick them up about 4 years old when they start understanding reason and can go to the bathrooms by themselves. But anyway, if you watch a baby sleeping, their bellies are going up and down. So I was watching, I was so confused by this because, I didn't pay attention in anatomy very well. And well, it's because babies breathe the way we're all supposed to, and down in the belly, in the depths, and the deepness, they're utilizing all of the chambers of their lungs, and we go about life, and we grow, and we encounter stressors, and we gather all of this tension from them, and it creates a constriction in the chest which becomes shallow chest breathing up in the top. So relearning how to breathe deeply into the belly takes a bit of an adjustment, and a lot of people it'll almost feel like you're hyperventilating at first and that you can't catch your breath. And so that takes a little work through. There's this period of adjustment time where you may try to start doing this and you're like, whoa, Savannah, that didn't work. That didn't work. That ain't for me. And you just have to get past that point where you're doing it consciously to train your body to, and adding the relaxation techniques to it can help facilitate that change a little bit better. It will
Mm. Yeah, so much of what you said there really resonated with me. Watching little one breathe is so powerful. But you know what? What I love doing is watching how anyone breathes, because it's like a window into how they are feeling.
Mhm.
If you really concentrate on how someone is breathing, where they are breathing, whether it's in their chest or their belly, whether it's slow or fast or deep, maybe where they are not breathing, where it's stuck, and you start to mirror it in yourself, you'll feel certain things. And that's a way to check in with actually how people are really feeling. It's like when you get good at it, it's like you develop telepathy, that you can tune in so quickly to how people are feeling. But it also helps you tune into yourself and how you are feeling. We live in a society that has become so cut off from feeling. We're so willing not to feel. We do everything that we can not to feel strong emotions, especially the challenging ones, anger or fear or rage or grief or jealousy. We got so many messages when we were young that those emotions aren't welcome. So we do everything to avoid them, whether that's numbing ourselves with Netflix or alcohol or going to the fridge or shopping online to avoid feeling. But only when we truly allow ourselves to feel, that our body, this amazing piece of engineering, can actually start to process, start to, um, sort of metabolize
Mm.
all those emotions, and so they don't get stuck in our body. And the breath is so powerful at doing this in a way that when I first experienced, I was like, holy cow, what is happening here? I have no idea what's happening. And yet I didn't need to consciously understand the wisdom of my body did all the work. And it was like suddenly I came out clean. All of this weight and all this, stuck energy that I've been carrying around it just disappeared. It was miraculous.
Yeah, we think that suppressing the emotions are going to make them go away, and that is exactly how you perpetuate the emotions. If you want the emotions, if you want to have those emotions forever, then suppressing them is exactly what you do. But if you don't want those emotions, then you have to give them space to exist for the amount of time that they need to exist to be able to be processed and moved forward through, because it's energy and that stagnation holds it tight, and the allowing of it lets it move on and out. And sometimes the breath it is so powerful, and sometimes it is all you have. If you're having these emotions that are so big that it feels like they're going to literally explode out of your skin and you're going to evaporate and die, like grief and anger, like they can be powerful enough to where they feel like they're going to destroy you. And in those moments, then all you need to do is remember to come back to the breathing, and that's let everything else fall away and just exist in your body and whatever is energy it has at the moment and is going on. And sickness is the same way. Sometimes, I've definitely been sick to where I thought it was, mono. Man, when I had mono, it was trying to take me out for sure. I was like, this is what dying feels like. And I've been sick in a lot of cases like that. And sometimes all you can do is lay there and breathe. And if you just focus on the breathing, it moves forward a lot quicker because our breath helps us to detox all of this.
Mm. Well, Savannah, I feel we could have this conversation that would go on hours, but how about we move from just the discussion about it to actually having a live example of how powerful breath can be in moving through some of those emotions? Would you be interested in trying that out on this
Sure.
podcast? Okay. Well, let's do it then. This exercise will take between 5 and 7 minutes. I'm going to lead you through a short meditation just to get you into connecting to a point where you'll be able to listen to the emotions that want to come out, and then we'll do the breath work. This breath work is called conscious breath work, conscious connected breath work. It's extraordinarily powerful. Normally we'll do it for 30 to 60 minutes, and it will be in a fully framed and boundaried workshop. And that's because there are some contraindications to it. There are certain medical challenges that people might have that says, if this is your first time doing it, please go very gently, do it with a trained facilitator, don't do it by yourself. However, for the 60 to 90 seconds we're going to be doing it, it's going to be safe for everyone to do. Unless you're driving a car, unless you're playing with knives or playing with fire or anything you shouldn't be doing. Please only do this exercise with us. Now, if you're in a quiet space where you can be undisturbed for a few minutes and you're seated or lying down, and then you're going to be absolutely safe. Do this practice, and you never know. It could be the start of something incredible. It could be the moment that your life changes. Are you ready for this, Savannah?
Let's go.
All right. Well, we're going to just start off. Give yourself just a quick shake. As I say to my 18-month-old daughter, we're going to shake the sillies out. So give yourself a shake with your head around. And then when you're ready, just settle back into a comfortable position where you can be supported, either seated or lying down. Gently close your eyes. Close your mouth and breathe in and out through your nose. Go at your own speed, your own depth. But as you breathe, I want you to feel where your body is being supported, where your feet and hands are resting, where your legs and your hips and your back, where they're in contact with something else, maybe even just your clothing. Feel that for a few breaths. And then become aware of how your body moves as you breathe. How your chest rises and falls. Your belly expands and contracts. Perhaps a lift to your shoulders. And then bring your focus to the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. Cool as it enters through your nostrils. Bring all of your awareness onto that sensation of the air entering your body. And then on an inhale, take your awareness inside to that still, deep, quiet place within. The place we all have. A place of strength. A place of courage. A place of wisdom where we already know the answers to all of the questions we need to ask. A place of knowing and understanding. And also a place of love and kindness and compassion and patience. So take a few breaths and connect to this part of yourself, your wisest, truest, highest self. It exists within all of us. So just feel that for a few moments. In a moment, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to listen to the answer that arises in your heart and your body, as well as thinking of the answer with your head. If there was an emotion or an energy that you are not allowing into your life, that you are hiding from, what would that be? If there was an energy or an emotion that you are not allowing a full expression of in your life, that you're hiding from, maybe pretending that it is not there, what would that be? And what would happen if you allowed it into your life? Now let's begin our breathwork practice. Please open your mouth wide, really wide, as if you're taking the bite of an apple or visiting the dentist. Start taking full body breaths. Imagine the air is going into every part of your body. Not just your lungs, but into your belly, into your hips, into your legs. And that's it. Let that breath in. Now here's the secret. Make your breath connected with no pauses at the top and no pauses at the bottom. Charge your body. Fill it up with air and energy. Remember, mouth wide open if you can. Full body breath. No pauses at the top and no pauses at the bottom. We have 30 more seconds to fill yourself with air and energy. 20 more seconds. Stay committed, stay present. 15 more seconds. 3 more breaths. 1 final one. Now close your mouth. Breathe through your nose. Put some pauses in. And just for a moment, feel. Become aware of the sensations. Your heart racing, the blood pounding. Maybe temperature changes in your body. Pins and needles and tingles. All sorts of energy changes. Just feel that for a moment. And then when you're ready, let's just check back in with that question again. There was an energy or an emotion in your life that you're not allowing, that you're hiding from or you're suppressing. What would that be? And what would your life look like if you truly allowed it in? So just sit with that for a moment. There may be some words that come to you. There may be a message that you need to hear right now. Some words from your inner self. Some advice perhaps. But it may also just be a feeling, a sensation or a knowing as well. Listen to the words and the feelings, the messages that come to you right now. Then when you're ready, let's begin our journey back. Start with some simple movements, maybe with your fingers, stretching out your hands. And then whatever feels right for you, bring some more movement in, perhaps moving your head and your shoulders, maybe stretching your arms out wide, moving around a bit, perhaps even tapping on your chest or your shoulders. Maybe looking around the physical room that you're in and just noticing 5 objects. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open if they're not already. And why don't you give your phone or your computer a smile? I can feel it. Savannah can feel it as well. Welcome back. Welcome back, Savannah. How are you feeling right now?
I am feeling wonderful. Very peaceful. Just good.
And is there anything from that experience that you would like to share right now? Always go to your own boundaries, to what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah. So we get really
Can I
people.
just say, can I ask you to speak about you? Use the word I and not we or people. Make it personal. Make it about you.
I
So
am.
say
I am. I am. I just have to always expand on everything I say. uh, I'll start with that. I'll do it backwards than what I was going to say it then. Um, I felt something in my solar plexus come up, and there weren't words attached to it though. It was just a feeling and an emotion or something. It's hard to say if it's because feelings and emotions are all the same, even our physical feelings, like touch can be tied to emotions just as well. It's all energy, but we always want to label things and name things and describe things, and we don't have to do that though. We can just feel what's coming up for us in the moment.
I have to come up with what's happening in the moment. Make it personal.
Yeah, because everything is personal. I'm the only one that can define my experiences, and I can choose to define those experiences however I want, or I can decide not to define those experiences and just experience them.
Mm, thank you. And you know, you've hit the nail on the head. We don't have to understand. Breathwork is a practice that is beyond and above and beneath the the mental, the thinking, the articulation of it. Our body is this most amazing piece of machinery. It knows what it needs to do to process those emotions. It doesn't have to, we don't have to explain it. Our bodies just do the work like magic. So I really heard what you said and you're really good, by the way, at identifying where the energy came from, your solar plexus. That's a rare skill. Actually, most people are not aware enough of their physical body to be able to identify where energy comes from. But you really did that very well, Savannah. Well done.
It's what I do for a living. I work with the chakra system, which I'm sure you're familiar with, right? Okay. And it helps me, teaching the chakra system and learning the chakra system has helped me identify where my issues are located and where I need to put focus on and work at. And it's helped me find the words to translate to other people how to do the same thing. Because yeah, these emotions, we talk all the time about them being trapped in our bodies and stuck in our bodies. And if we just sit back for a second and create the space to come inside to ourselves, how many times have the esoteric and ancient texts said we have all of the answers within us already? There's nothing else externally that we need in order to heal anything. Everything we need is what we already have. And sure, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult depending on our circumstances and environments, but that doesn't mean it's unreachable. That just means that you may have to work a little bit harder to create the space to relax and come in to yourself in order to identify these problems. But if you can create the space and come into yourself and identify these locations and these issues, and again, you don't have to be like, oh, that thing that happened when I was 8 is coming up, and this is how, because I talk a lot, defining it helps me a lot of the times and tracing it back to its roots, but you don't have to do that. You can just find the feeling where it's located, let it process out. You just sit with it. You just have to sit with your attention on it and notice how it feels. And just look at it in your mind's eye within your body, and then it will process out. And the next thing you know, that thing that bothered you for 18 years that you thought of every now and then would pop up in your head and cause you, or whatever. Uh, doesn't pop up anymore, and you forgot that it was even a thing that existed. And that's
Hmm.
what healing is letting go. Like truly accepting where you are now and allowing all of those others to just go.
I will take a breath with all of that, Savannah. Thank you for articulating that. And it is a good practice as well to be able to articulate things, to explain things, because it does help the integration process. It does help things shift around a little bit more. It's why journaling, for instance, is such a powerful tool for integration, where we can start to express with this amazing brain that we've given what's happening inside of it. It helps us make sense of it all on a completely different level. So that also is great practice to do as well, which you have also done very eloquently.
Thank you. Yeah, it's hard for us sometimes to allow the space to do these things because and we come up with all sorts of excuses and reasons to why it's hard. But ultimately all it is that it makes us when you create the space for these things to come up, they do. They're looking for their opportunity to come up and be processed all the time. It's just we're masking them and focusing on what's the word? It's there's a word that I talk about all the time, but I can't find it right now. It's when you're running from your things. So, when you spend 6 hours on Diablo playing Xbox or something instead of allowing the space to process through your emotions, and then you're like, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I can't.
Distraction or displacement activities.
I'm sorry.
Distraction or displacement activities is one word for them.
Yes. Yeah. There's another word I'm looking for. I'll think of it as soon as we end the episode. And then I'll put it in the show notes. And I'm like, this is the word that I was struggling with. Little Easter egg if you really want to know. But yeah, these things are uncomfortable, but it does get easier the more you practice.
It really does. It really does.
How did you find yourself here?
I'd spent most of my life looking for something, looking for a reason, looking for purpose. Throughout my 20s and 30s, I tried all sorts of practices from, yoga to meditation to Buddhism. I read every self-help, every self-development book. I tried group therapy. And although, so many of the practices that I tried had little keys or offered a little glimpse, they also made it very clear that I was unlikely to reach enlightenment in this lifetime. In fact, it was not going to happen. Probably not in the next 100 lifetimes. So, I gave up with some of those practices, although they gave me a lot. And there was there's some other aspects with meditation, for instance, that I couldn't work with, but it was an essential part of my journey. But 10 years ago, I ended up in Ubud in Bali, which is one of the great spiritual centers in the world. And I was just invited in by chance, by accident, to a breathwork session. And I thought I knew what breathwork was at that point because I'd already been doing 10 years of yoga by that point. So I've done a lot of pranayama. I've done, alternate nostril breathing, breath of fire, ocean, I knew all the pranayama techniques and I thought we'd be doing something like that, but it wasn't that at all. We did a 60-minute session of conscious breath work, of which we had just the tiniest taste today. And that changed everything for me. Around me, it felt like all hell was breaking loose. On one side of me, someone was screaming like they were being stabbed and disemboweled. On the other side, someone was having a full body orgasm. And then on the other side of them, there was someone laughing like they'd been told the biggest joke in the universe. And the energy in that room, you could feel it. It was like a whirlwind or a tornado. And then I was like, what's going on here? And then I had my own deep personal experience, a spiritual experience of something that I'd never expected to happen. And it was easy and it was quick and it was like, I'm there. That moment of transcendence that I've been searching for through meditation, through yoga, through studying the philosophers, suddenly was given to me and it was easy. And I didn't have to sit on a mountain for ages or do a diet, but it was there. And then when we came back for our sharing circle at the end, when everyone shared their experiences, it was very varied. Every single person had a life-changing experience. That's when I felt the call. I felt as clear as we are sitting, speaking right now, that this was my destiny. This was my calling. This was my purpose in life. To bring out the gift that I had just been given. Because you're right, not many people know about their breath. Maybe you're aware of it when you can't breathe, when your nose is blocked up, or when you're struggling for breath. But actually, when you make friends with your breath, you find that it can be your best friend and your wisest counsel. It is with you every single moment you're alive. It has got an arm around your shoulder. It is whispering advice in your ear every second. And when you truly embrace your breath, then it's like something miraculous changes. Something changes inside of you. And that happened to me 10 years ago. And since then, I went from being a common or garden, just your average high school teacher and I was living in England, on the south coast of England, working in deprived schools of low aspirational areas, having never done very much of my life. And then suddenly 10 years later, I found that I've started an international breathwork school. I've run retreats all over the world in some of the most beautiful places that you can imagine. I've started an international breath festival. And all of that was the most amazing experience. It all flowed. It wasn't a challenge. Every single moment that I've been working with my breath has been more rewarding than anything that I've done before in my life. And so that's a little bit about how I discovered breath and why I do what I do now, because I feel this call inside of me that I want to light up for myself. Not just because it feels good for me, but actually if I allow myself to shine, that will give permission for other people to do the same. And I believe this is the most sustainable form of activism, the internal journey that we go on through for working on ourselves, because we're not going to burn out from it. And it's sustainable. Of course, going out and, making changes in the world, the politics, or, trying to stop wars or famine, and of course, working for the environment is so important, but it needs to come from a sustainable place of strength. And I believe doing internal work is vital to that. But we don't just do it for ourselves. We don't do it for the world around us. Actually, we are doing this work for the world that is yet to come. We are in the first place in history, I believe, where we have got the knowledge of what is happening internally for us and through inherited and genetic and social trauma to actually say, no, I'm going to choose to do something different. I'm going to choose the world in which my children come in is going to be different to the one that I came in. I'm going to make my own mistakes in parenting, but they're not going to be the ones that were given to me by my parents, who were given to, who the wounds that they had were passed on by their parents. The wounds of being a good boy or a good girl or fitting in or not making a scene or not showing off or not getting angry or not being able to feel sad or cheering up or having to be a good, you know what? No, I'm not going to inflict those wounds on my children. I'll do different ones and they'll hate me for other reasons, I'm sure. But if I can demonstrate what it looks like to truly reach my potential, which isn't necessarily doing something, but it is being something, being the best version of myself, that I can give permission to other people to do the same.
Yeah, because that's really all it takes is just learning who you are and sitting with why you are the way you are and who you wish you were and how you can be that person, because it's all a giant cosplay. We can wake up any day and decide to be whoever we want. And we get teased a lot in school, talk if you're one way or another. And it doesn't even make sense because it's all a giant experiment anyway, but we could dissect that, but I'm just going to try to keep on point. the reason that you go on a 30-day retreat and sit with the monks up in the mountains in silence is to create the space to sit with who you are and allow the hurts to be processed. You know, if you need to dissect it and analyze it and understand it in order to process it, then you make the space to do that. If you need to figure out who you want to be or how you want to be or what you want to be. And well, I don't really like trying to figure out what we want to be. We need to learn how to just be, just exist with no external boxes or categories or whatever we feel like we need to identify with or put ourselves in, or, you know, so many of us struggle trying so hard to find the boxes that fit who we are and so that we can understand who we are. When again, we need to just kind of take a step back from the words sometimes and the definitions and just sit with the energies of it. And the more you do all of this, the easier life will become and the easier it will become to be you. And because you are already you, you just need to figure out who you are without all of the filters that come from hurt and society and culture and boxes and relationships of people's expectations of you or perceptions of you or judgments of you or whatever. And just, you know, it's less. It's less. We do too much and we should do less, and we will find all of our answers in the lessness. And breathwork is a great entry point tool to help us because people don't know where to start. They're like, okay, Savannah, I'm sitting here, I'm meditating, but like I need some direction. I don't know what to do. You just focus on your breath, focus on your breathing, focus on scanning your body and feeling it and anything that comes up and in the now. So you look around and you see what's going on right in front of you, the colors, the textures, the energies, how the air feels on your skin right now. Because we spend a whole lot of time mentally in the past or in the future, but all we have is right now. Right now is the only thing that is real. We could go on for ages.
Really good. Do we have another breath before we do anything else?
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Would you like to tell people where they can find you and anything you have to offer or extend?
Sure. My wish, Savannah, is that our conversation here, which has been really fascinating, actually, is that people maybe just have a little spark of curiosity to just maybe find that there is something in their breath, and how you explore that will be, you know, in the way that's right for you. For some people, it might be reading a book, and there's some amazing books on breathwork. Perhaps some of your listeners might just like to Google some breathwork techniques on YouTube. There's a lot of free resources out there that you can find. But if you like me and you like my Hollywood villain British accent, you can come and find me. If you Google my name and breathwork, you'll find my school, which is called Breathing Space. And we offer a whole range of resources for anyone who wants to get to know their breath, whether you have never touched your breath before or whether you're an experienced breather. We have 5 free live online workshops every single week. Each one is an hour long, and you get to do a full session of conscious breath work. We just did a minute today. Those are our online breathing spaces. We have got a breathwork starter kit and several other free courses that you can download and learn some simple exercises. If you really want your breath to go on a big journey with you, we've got a program called Rewire, which is a 12-week breathwork journey, which does what it says in the title. I believe that the practices that are in Rewire rewired me, and that is available for anyone. In fact, Savannah, I'm going to give you a code to pass on to your students or to your listeners. It will give them a third off the price.
Okay.
And of course, if you really want to go on a journey with breathwork, if you really want to help light up the world by lighting up yourself, then you can train to do what I do, which is become a breathwork facilitator. It's not an easy or a quick journey. It's a year long. It's a 400-hour training. But by the end of it, you will be a different person, one that you can barely imagine, one that is so in touch with themselves and the world around them that they are a force for good and change just by being, not by even doing anything. So, breathing space, my website is makesomebreathingspace.com. My social media handles are makesomebreathingspace. But if you Google my name, breathwork, you'll find me.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that all that's linked nearby so that they don't have to look too far or figure out how to spell
Thank
your
you,
name.
Savannah. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on, Savannah. It's been a real pleasure talking with you today and listening to you as well and listening to a lot of the wisdom that is in your heart coming out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Perhaps we could take a breath to close just as we started.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.